Welcome out to Trading Justice, a financial markets podcast where we break down the news of the week, different segments, different topics of conversation about what's going on across the markets with equities, currencies, commodities, and the like. And we have some fun while we're doing it. You got the trifecta here today. You got the three Justice brothers, Matt, Mark, and Tim here. I am your host of the Trading Justice podcast. We're going to have a fun and lively conversation. Before we get into that, though, I do want to remind you guys that Trading Justice is sponsored by Tackle Trading, a financial markets community for traders. You know, you can get coaching, you can get community, you can get picks, you can get all kinds of different things over at Tackle Trading. And we are in the middle of a very busy month at Tackle Trading. We are having live events each and every week. Coach Matt and the coaches are just putting on a lot of great content for you guys. If you're out there and you're trying to learn the markets, you want to stay connected with other traders, definitely head over to tackletrading.com and register for one of our events on the events page. Just add /events at the end of tackletrading.com and you will find it. Our coaches shows, our cash flow clubs, our special holiday trainings, all of it should be right there. Let's bring in my co-host here. Let's start with you, Mark. How are you doing today, sir?
I am drinking Theta, candy rain from the amount of dojis we've had in a row. My favorite pastime recently has been going to message boards and read people complain about the market doing nothing, and well, then trying to just enjoy the moment. It's been a fantastic Theta environment lately.
Yeah,
You know
yeah.
he's on fire when he's going to message boards to kind of troll directional traders. Like Mark's on
Basically, that's
fire.
what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I got to tell you guys a story. So, I don't know if the podcast world cares or needs to hear this, but I'm recently divorced, and I was actually talking to a single girl recently, and she's like, "Oh, what do you do?" And I'm like, "I work for a trading education company." She's like, "Oh, yeah, I love buying long calls and long puts," and I'm like,
Yeah.
"Unmatched. I can't." I'm sorry. No, we're not gonna work.
We're not
We're
going
not
down that road.
We're not gonna work out. Anyway, Matt, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing good. There's no doubt about that. I do enjoy popping a call and a put every now and then, though. There's no doubt about that as well. Tim, excited for this week. Busy schedule at Tackle Trading. We got day trading mastery tonight. If you're watching this later on this week and you didn't get a chance to register for the day trading mastery or whatever the case might be, I will be posting the replay to the same landing page, the live events landing page. It's in the link in the description in YouTube there. And you can hit the watch the replay, and then you can see all the other webinars I've done so far. I did the AI Gold Rush last week. That was just a ball of fun, to be perfectly honest. Just had an absolute wonderful time swing trading the week before, and we got day trading this week. But for next week, we do have our monthly Master Trader class. This is for the pros. We do it once a month throughout the entire year. It's Master Trader. It's a 2-day technical analysis course. It is the absolute best introductory to intermediate technical analysis course out there in the market today. It's live. We record it as well. But for December, you can actually register as a non-pro to come test out all things Master Trader. And so we got that one coming up on this coming Monday and Tuesday on the 15th and 16th. But don't sleep on the week after that. It's the Tackle 25. You're not going to want to miss that December 22nd webinar called the Tackle 25. It is one of my favorite webinars. It's one of my favorite strategies, one of my favorite systems. And it's the Tackle 25, which means it is the best 25 stocks for covered calls as well. That's going to be on the 22nd. So we got a lot happening over the next couple weeks at Tackle Trading. And last thought, but certainly not the least one here, we're also in our holiday sell season at Tackle Trading, and we are the #1 education provider in America for if you want to learn how to trade, if you want to learn how to trade any asset class in the market, Tackle Trading's your thing. And we got wonderful discounts on both pro membership, annual or monthly, premium systems coaching, you name it. You can always check out the storefront over there at tackletrading.com as well.
That's awesome. And if you've been in our community, it's going on, it's like 12 years now for Tackle Trading. One of the very first things we ever did in this community was put out the Tackle 25, around this time of year, each and every year. It's a staple. It
Yeah,
is
this will
the
be the
basis
11th
of,
year for the Tackle
yeah,
25. Yeah.
yeah. people who know the value of what it brings. I mean, it's just an incredible list you can work off of all year long. So looking forward to that, man.
If you know what the Tackle 25 is, you've been trading it, you've been investing, you've been covering, you've been cash flowing, you've been compounding, you love the Tackle 25. And if you don't know what the Tackle 25 is, don't miss that webinar because it will change your life next year.
100%. All right, guys, let's jump into the conversation here today. Let's start with the market skyline and do a quick index check. Matt,
Mhm.
just give me the quick resistance support zones, what you're seeing in the momentum, the pattern, what is on the charts right here.
Well, I think the number one question on my mind this week, technically, and we can talk about ultimately where support and where resistance is, but I only think there's really one number, uh, two numbers off the top of my head that are very important this week, because the market over the last 2 weeks has done nothing wrong. It recovered 2 weeks ago, high base last week. That's exactly what we asked for, and now it's dialing in a breakout situation. And so when you're looking at the market here, the only question I have is, are we going to break out and do we close above 6,900? You got the 9 EMA as support. You got a pocket underneath that as it is as a support level, and I update those from intraday to daily to weekly levels every single week in the Tackle Trading newsletter. But on the top of my head, Tim, like the only level that I feel is a vitally important level this week is the 6,900 level on the S&P 500. And then when you come out and you look at, say, RSP out there, RSP is the equal weighted index. RSP has an equally important level up there around the 192.5 level. And so I'm looking at those two levels, and they both represent the same thing. ES is the weighted index, RSP is the equal weighted index. Both of them are in what we call multiple time frame breakout patterns. Both of them have the ability to break out and create a new leg. We've had really good improving situations on RSP, getting up into the levels of resistance. But like I said all last week, as we were developing the high base at Tackle Trading, it's one thing for support to hold, it's one thing to get up into resistance, but yet it is an entirely different thing to break out of resistance. And I do think at this point in the technical saga, once again, the ultimate question of, do we see that breakout this week? Do we close above 6,900? Do we close? And the catalyst is I don't want to say insignificant for me this week, but to me, it's not like there's catalysts that live everywhere over the next 10 trading sessions. But to me, it's ultimately the price levels here. Does the market close above 192.5 on RSP? Does the market close above 6,900 on ES? And if it does, regardless of what the catalyst, I think you have to be ready for Santa coming home. And so to me, the number one data point this week is whether or not the S&P 500 and thus the RSP closes above their respective multiple time frame resistance levels, which I would say on the ES is 6,900, and what I would say on RSP is 192.5.
Mhm. Now, Mark, you mentioned in the preparation notes that the VIX had retraced hard again and that we've seen some panic resolving cycles with lots of Vegas
Listen,
supply
you
out
need to
here.
get used to this. There's an interesting stat at a Goldman I ran across today. You've had five, count them, 40% clips where the VIX shed 40% of its value. That used to never happen, literally never happen, and it is common. Right now we are in a super low VIX situation. And we've actually done a class recently at Tackle Trading for our pro members on straddles to
Mhm.
help individuals in our community take advantage of low VIX, right? Because, and Tim, I don't know if you've ever heard us use this phrase, Mountain Dew markets, where markets are more extreme than ever. The moves are extreme. The moves in, equities are more extreme. When things get going, they're more extreme. The VIX is no different. Now, you think we really are heading into the next 2 weeks deserve to be at the lowest point in the VIX all year? That's insanity, but it's a byproduct of extreme market movements. That's why we've had classes for our pro members on how to take advantage of that through straddles. I've added personally more straddle type plays. Maybe you should give me, if I ever get single, that woman's number, because I've added some calls and puts and straddle type plays, because the VIX is so low and you're heading into just this monster lineup of events. And so I just find that very, very, very interesting. And now I've been able to, on the Trading Justice podcast, talk about the VIX for over 2 minutes. That has set a record, so more Mountain Dew market extremes. We just set a record for the amount of time talked on the VIX. Matt is putting a gun in his head right now.
A little bit there. It's almost like you were talking about the market being at an all-time high.
That's not what causes these things, though. Right?
You can keep telling yourself that, but if the market doesn't recover last week in high base, 2 weeks ago in high base last week, we're not at 16 in the VIX. We're not at that low point in the VIX. We're at the exact same low point in the VIX we were a month ago when we were also.
You get fixated on that. You should just talk about straddles.
Honestly, it's not something that I think is a negative thing to use the VIX as a secondary confirmation tool. I just think you should always use it as a secondary confirmation.
See that, Tim? I know Matt wasn't listening to me, because that's not what I was talking about. That's how much he hates the VIX. Is he just hears VIX and
no, you were talking about a 40% clip in the VIX, and
I'm saying the VIX is artificially low ahead of the weeks that we're having, and that it is attractive opportunity to.
I think you can only say it's artificially low as if you equally argue that the buyers that stepped in over the last 2 weeks are artificially gone. Because the VIX isn't low unless the market goes back up to the high. But we can debate that. It's not important of a debate. What's important to understand about what you said is we are dealing with a low vol environment. And when you have a low vol environment, option strategies on the buy side of them are far more enticing.
Open up.
Far more enticing. And the second point I'll make on the VIX, because I do think understanding where the VIX is right now is important. When the VIX is at the low point, and we're not at the yearly low, but we are at a low point in the current volatility, and you also know we're 7 weeks in front of the next earnings season, you're at the low volatility environment for a lot of individual components in the S&P 500 as well. In fact, next week, for next week, I would suggest let's do an educational segment on this podcast regarding a straddle and a strangle, so that we can.
It's such an important
concept, because
it's such an important point, because like after Santa Claus comes to town and everyone's excited about that, VIX seasonality spikes, and it's huge. And one of the reasons it spikes is you come out of this lull period of the holidays, and then you have an earnings season. It's not a coincidence that VIX seasonality spikes. It's not magical. There's mechanics behind it. And so
January earnings reports.
Yeah, you get those January earnings. You're coming out of a lull. You get in this little time period. It's attractive. You can give some attractive things.
Mm-hmm.
We got 5 minutes out of the VIX. Can we move on?
I thought we were doing good when we set the record. We just smashed the record. We'll never beat that.
Okay.
We won't
ever.
Other areas of the market. Let me ask you guys. I mean, things like the VIX, the dollar, gold, all those kind of stuff in a very efficient trading day.
A question on the S&P before we move on from the S&P, because I haven't heard you guys say anything about the technical landscape here. Agree or disagree? The number one most important thing this week is whether or not the S&P closes above 6,900. Yes or no?
I'm going to say no. For me,
what would it be for you?
Well, does it close above 6,900 is obviously incredibly important, but if yields are skyrocketing while it does, I'm not going to trust it, for me personally, right?
Well, I kind of think we're not closing above 6,900 unless we get a little bit of a easing condition on those yields. But
but that's the only reason I answer no on that. So.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back to the simplicity of trusting the technicals. So much of the information in the market is going to be built right into that. It's a clear level. I'm watching 6,900. That's me.
And then the RSP equal weighted index. I mean, that thing, we haven't had a leg up in the market in months and months and months, guys. We're staring down the barrel at a multiple time frame resistance level. I don't care what catalyst sparks the pump. But to me, the most important data point outside of every other fundamental macro conversation this week, are we above 192.5 on by the end of this week on RSP? Are we above 6,900 by the end of this week? If we're there, everything Mark has concerned about got alleviated. Period. End of sentence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's fair. In the other areas of the market, is anything really grabbing your attention you want to talk about right now, or do you want to move
No,
on to those macro
no,
conversations?
honestly, the indexes are extremely, I don't want to say they're easy because
But
nothing's
it's very
easy,
straightforward right
like
now.
exactly, but it's like the battle lines are drawn, they're very clean, they're
And they're
very
very
well known.
clean. Like
Like
even the reversal patterns like on Bitcoin are very textbook, right? The consolidation on gold, very textbook, right? Silver's breakout forming a high base, very textbook, right? Like it's almost like technical analysis matters, right? That's why, I know we have an upcoming master trader event next week. Learn, if you can't learn to read a chart, if you can't incorporate technical analysis, you just do not understand the world of finance.
can I
It is
can I go back to your you mentioned, Tim, your question was anything other than the indexes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mark, you
Yep.
mentioned the crypto space and moved on faster than I could ever ever imagine there. We got 5 minutes on the VIX, but we only got 5 seconds on the crypto space here. Give me your thoughts on Bitcoin and Ethereum
I think
because
they've bottomed. So there's my thoughts.
is
Like
there
you want me to
anything
expand?
else
Yeah,
there?
because well, I don't want to like rain on our QE Fed parade that we're going to have in our discussion coming up, which I mentioned that. But the Fed is engaging and has started to engage in massive liquidity injections into the market. Bitcoin, you know what instrument Bitcoin tracks most, and I'm a Bitcoin fan and I'm about to be sacrilegious. Its biggest correlation is with unprofitable tech
Mhm.
out of all things. It's not with the dollar or
Are you
gold
talking about
or
right now over the last two
no,
months or in general?
in general. Like, Goldman did a recent
So
study.
basically, they move in not in tandem, but they're correlated with
Yeah, go look at quantum
our
computing
stock.
stocks. Go look at quantum
Yeah,
computing stocks and SoundHound and Bitcoin over the last five,
it makes
6
sense to
weeks.
me. It makes a
It,
lot
it,
of
it
sense
makes
to me. Bitcoin's
well,
the number one risk asset.
you know what has the biggest correlation effect is when there's liquidity injections on unprofitable tech. That's when unprofitable tech tends to do the best. If the Fed is going to engage in the end of quantitative tightening, which we'll talk about in a second, if they're going to engage in QE or whatever you want to call it, let's not get cute, injecting liquidity in the system, that probably bottoms out all of the unprofitable tech, probably bottoms out crypto as well.
So
Uh,
as of
you know,
right now, you believe this is the low point in this current trend?
in this cycle, now could you have one 5 months, 4 months, 6 months?
Yeah, yeah.
Sure,
I'm just
right. But
talking
in,
about this
in
trend.
this cycle, it's man, it's going to go against a lot of disbelief I have if and once again, yields is the big caveat on all of it. If
Mhm.
yields go off, all bets off. On what was that movie with Brad Pitt and Jason Statham, where they were in where he was in the trailer park, Brad Pitt.
I I'm not going to help you on this one.
Are you serious?
I'm not
I
helping
can't
him.
think of it. I know
You
the
like
movie, obviously.
you
Anyways, all
like
bets.
dogs?
Yes,
Yes, I like dags. I'm not helping you with it either, but go
you
ahead.
guys are.
Yeah,
Well, I'm
the
not
other
going to say it
coffee.
because this is a family program. But anyways, liquidity, it goes
Starts
against
with an S.
everything. Why can't I think of it? Gosh,
Did you get the diamonds?
I know the whole freaking movie. I don't need quotes from
The
the
good
movie. I
movie.
need the name of the movie.
Uh-huh.
Brad Pitt plays
Uh,
the gypsy boxer.
Yes, I know the. Oh my gosh.
you know,
Anyway, so
at
I
one
have some
moment you're
other
just gonna snatch it
fascinating
out of your
things on
brain.
the VIX to talk about, that we could discuss. Or you could give me the name of the snake. That's not snake. It's just a
Snake
Nicholas
Eyes
Cage.
is great too, but it doesn't have Brad Pitt or Jason Statham in them.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
has your boy in it though. Oh, and Nick
It
Cage.
has everybody's boy in it. Nick Cage.
It's not everybody's
He's the
boy.
people.
Anyways, that's the thoughts
Me-
on why crypto is bottoming, right? And so all bets off if yields go up, but
I,
otherwise it's hard to see liquidity getting
I think
injected in crypto not bottoming.
honestly, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know if we're bottoming or not. What I do know is that we're seeing signs of traditional bottoms here, especially on the Ethereum side, in my opinion. But this is the best technical look crypto has had going into a week in months, in my opinion.
Oh, it's
And for
Matt,
Tim,
this is a better technical read than at any
well,
point
for
when it was up
months, Tim.
higher,
Yeah,
like
for
even higher.
well,
Like those were all
yeah,
great. Like, you
For
know,
months and months and months, while everybody and their dog was debating the top end of
you
Bitcoin,
haven't had a nice, this
I
is the
was
nicest
saying,
thing you
no,
have
it's
said
got to
since
sell
like
off. It's
June.
got to sell off. It's got to sell off. I've been a
I'll
broken
give you, you
record.
have, in fact, that false breakout in August, the one we had the false
I
breakout in
didn't like that
August.
overextended breakout.
You
It threw a
didn't like
bunch of cold
that. And you
water on it.
have, this is the first time Matt has said something positive about a crypto from a technical perspective since then.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been at least for me, it's been about 6 months that I said anything positive on the crypto space. But I will say that it is its best look, and that's because it's doing nothing. And doing nothing stands out in an environment where it was selling aggressively. You've seen that switch. And I also believe that outside of the technical conversation, which I do find very compelling on both Bitcoin and Ethereum, Bitcoin above 95K would be confirmation. Ethereum above 3,200 would be ultimate confirmation for me. But I think also equally important over the last week, there's big time battles on the fundamental side of the crypto space going on, specifically with MicroStrategy and Michael Saylor, who was under a lot of pressure to start unwinding some of that Bitcoin position within MicroStrategy. In fact, if Bitcoin would have went down another like 2-3%, they had automated triggers to start unloading because they would have been underwater. And so you're seeing big time battles fight at these levels here. And they've had a hard time confirming, but that's why confirmation is the insurance you write on your projection, according to Jesse
Yeah,
Livermore.
listen, these battles after big sell-offs in cryptos can take weeks and weeks and weeks. Go look back the last couple of years. I wouldn't be surprised. These aren't fast
The more
resolutions.
time it takes, the better it's going to look, but both of them are ready to go now, to be
Yeah, but
honest.
both of them have started the process, I believe, and I think the macro supports it.
I
Yeah,
haven't heard either your
I
take on
do as
this in a
well.
while. I want to throw this out there. Why not just Coinbase? I mean, they have exposure to Bitcoin, Ethereum. They generate profit from it. It's a publicly traded company. You can approach it with options instead of, there's a lot of maybe
Well, you got
advantages
options on the
potentially.
crypto too, because you got very liquid ETFs in crypto, like
Very
ETHA,
liquid.
very liquid. IBIT is extremely liquid out there as well. And so
Mhm.
the option side of it is there with the crypto ETFs.
I would rather have the DAG, instead of the tail on this one. I think,
Yeah, I want the commodity. I want the underlying on
and the
this.
movie's name is Snatch for those also
Well done.
frustrated
Well
at
done.
home.
Well, nobody was frustrated. They all got it.
There was somebody out there
There
also
was, there
doing it.
was, there was.
I would
But
put a gold star on your
it,
forehead right now if you were here.
I would kick you
honestly,
in the
Tim,
Cartmans
if
if I
we
was
were
over there.
talking if we were talking about the 300 number on Coinbase and not the 275 number,
Yeah.
I think we might have a little bit of a different conversation there. Because that is an extremely important level. The
Okay.
reason I really like Ethereum, because I don't love Bitcoin the same way Mark does. I rather prefer Ethereum. The reason I like Ethereum a little bit more than Bitcoin is the same reason why I wouldn't choose Coinbase over Ethereum. When you look at Bitcoin breaking out here, Bitcoin has a short journey before you get into some major important levels there. So I don't love it from a tradable situation, meaning like a swing trade, for example. You got to fight through a little bit of too much levels. When I look at Ethereum, Ethereum doesn't have that same degree of situation. When you break that 3,200, there's really only the 9 weekly before you start getting into open air up to 3,800. And so, unlike Bitcoin and Coinbase, Ethereum has a little bit of an easier technical journey to get up in a 20% move before it runs
Hmm.
into anything aggressive. Whereas Bitcoin and Coinbase, they can only run about 5% before they start running into overhead. And so I just like the technical conversation a little bit more on Ethereum than I do
Here,
on
I love
Bitcoin.
my left brain, brother. I'm going to give you a right brain smart ass response. It's like saying, why don't you trade the NASDAQ instead of Apple? Right? Why don't you trade
A
NASDAQ
fair
instead of
question.
It's right? It's an
I
exchange,
think that's
right?
a good debate and question too.
Those are good debates and good questions
Yeah.
as well.
You know, I'm going to go trade the NASDAQ instead of NVIDIA.
I I
All I
think
know this. I
I
mean,
I I think there are more people that trade the Nasdaq than Nvidia.
So No, I'm talking
Yeah.
the actual exchange.
Well, yeah, so
You
am
can
I.
buy, you can
So am
buy the
I.
QQQ.
Uh, the NASDAQ is probably the number 2 day trading instrument in the
No,
world.
I'm talking about the exchange, like the
I,
Nasdaq
like
exchange
where you're
ticker.
You
trying to
might as well
land this
just
joke.
bury this one, bro.
Humor's hard,
So
bro.
Like,
It's
yeah,
really
it's
hard.
not for everybody.
uh, you guys literally don't even know the exchange of the Nasdaq, do you? Like,
The NASDAQ,
isn't it
the
NQ?
NDAQ,
I don't
yeah,
either,
we do.
actually. No, NQAQ, like
You ever see
Yes, we
the
know
comedians
that.
publicly
start
traded
dialing up the
company.
audience?
Yes.
Love
Coinbase
it.
over Bitcoin is a silly debate, in my opinion.
Uh, I will punt on the debate. We'll put a pin in it. We can come back to it another time. I don't think it's as silly as you think. I think there's valid reasons to own and buy Coinbase and hold it over the long term, compliance reasons, different reasons, all that kind of stuff. But we will leave the left and right brain to fight another time, like a boxing match in
Yeah.
Snatch. Let's move on. Let's talk. I mean, you guys have been mentioning Fed. There's a million central bank events this week. Do you guys really care
There are a
about
lot of
them, or
central
is it
bank
just
events.
mandatory because there's an FOMC meeting that we've been anticipating for 6 weeks? I think the market has priced a lot of it in. Are you guys expecting any surprises, or is it chalk? Matt, you first.
Oh, I think the market's pricing in a cut. I don't know if they're pricing in anything outside of a cut yet, but that's why we recovered a week and a half ago is because they priced in that cut. Which means if the only thing we get on Wednesday is a cut and everything else is chalk, we're not breaking out because that cut is already priced in.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's a pricing event that would happen if that's all we get. I do anticipate more than that. This is one of the 4 meetings in the year that we get the dot plot, we get the SEP. This is also the most important meeting of the year. The December meeting is probably the most important meeting of the year as they lay out the arguments for interest rates going into next year, economic projections going into next year. And honestly, one of the things that doesn't get a lot of love in this one is this is the meeting specifically on the SEP and the dot plot that Wall Street's going to get before they put out their final projections on how the market will do next year. And so all of those ratings exchanges and all of the Wall Street institutions, they're going to get the SCP, they're going to get the dot plot, they're going to update their final projections for where the S&P is going to be at the end of next year, and they're going to go start putting those out there. So I don't think we're going to get a lot of fireworks from the actual policy statement itself. I think what we're
Mm-hmm.
going to get is some volatility during the press conference, as we oftentimes do. But to me, I do believe it's already priced in the rate cut. I do believe that it's very important to see this one and get above that 6,900 because I do find that the Fed this week is the number one catalyst. I don't think that's shocking to anybody. I think that's what most people would have going into this week. But quietly, Thursday is also a fairly important day with Broadcom's earnings as well. But to me, I think it's priced in. I think it's chalk so far, and it's going to really be important on what the S&P and the dot plot say. If we're breaking out, it's not based on the cut; it's based on the dot plot.
Mm-hmm. Mark, any thoughts on the Fed this week,
Oh, I
central
got a
banks in
million
general?
thoughts. I'll summarize them. I don't really care what anything says in the Fed meeting this week at all. I think I very much care about the price action, right? I think bulls are going to attempt to break out. That's my opinion. Do they have the conviction? Is there enough umph? Right, we're going to see that. Uh, there's not really anything that can be released that is going to shock me. We might get some fireworks on the dot plot. And I know Matt hates this saying, the hawkish cut, right? I hear like all of the big banks anticipating a hawkish cut,
They said
i.e.,
that same thing last time. They
but
said
here's the
it's
thing,
like,
and but and what a hawkish cut is you get a cut, but then you get language around the cut that is you're
No, you
not.
get Jay Powell gaslighting the market by
But
trying to
here's the thing:
paint
if
this
everybody is,
environment like he's actually concerned
if
about inflation.
everybody thinks
Like you
that Jay
get
Powell's going to do,
gaslit and you call it a hawkish
but
cut.
if everyone's
It's a cut.
anticipating that, then it can't have a
Okay,
negative
I'm
effect.
sorry. I can't allow that language, hawkish cut, to dominate I can't, I just can't do it. You're telling me we're going to label it a hawkish cut when one, they're cutting. Let's just number
Well,
one,
hence the
they're
cut cut.
cutting. Okay, number two, they just got done with QT. They just literally ended it
Mm-hmm.
on December
Oh, you're
1st.
not going to get
Hold
me to
on, I'm
argue.
not done. Number three, they are launching a $45 billion monthly QE program in January. In January, they're launching QE. And number four, there's going to be more cuts in the dot plot. What are we talking
Yeah,
about?
this is why I don't care what the Fed does this week. Like, I very much care about the price action. I don't think there's anything
Answer
Jay
me this
Powell,
question. How is it a hawkish cut if they're ending QT, launching QE, cutting in December, and laying out a dot plot that's
because
going to
that is
anticipate
how
more cuts
big
next year?
banks frame it. That's the, you know,
No,
this as well
that's
as I
how
do,
Jay Powell wants to frame it.
you know,
That's how
but
Jay Powell
it
wants to
won't be
frame it.
successful
I'm doing a hawkish cut, which means you can't criticize me about inflation because it's a hawkish cut. You can't criticize me about labor because it's a hawkish cut. I have the left covered, I have the right covered. Like it's absolutely asinine, ascertain to me that this language is allowed by the market. Hawkish cut. Are you kidding me? Paul Volcker is literally rolling over in his grave when he would cut 12 points in a single session, increase it by another 10 the next session. Now we're just going to be like, oh no, it's really hawkish why we're cutting, killing QT, launching QE, and laying out a dot plot that's going to suggest more cuts. Like
Yeah,
that's
no,
insane.
and that's why the
Up
market is
is
going.
down, dark is light.
Yeah,
That's insane to me.
Jay Powell had a real pronounced effect on price action since the last Fed meeting. He
Yeah,
caused it.
the last time
He
they
is
also
not
said
going to
hawkish
this
cut.
time. Yeah, but last time it caught people by surprise. People didn't see it coming, and I think that's why it had the effect it did. In fact, I remember watching that Fed press conference. I was
Aren't,
like, oh,
can I just ask a simple question, Chucky?
yeah,
Aren't you sick and tired of Jay Powell trying to straddle the fence?
I'm Jay Powell. I'm done with. I think everyone's done with. And also there's another point though. Like Jay Powell's tenure is only a few months left. I don't think there's anything he can say that the market's going to give two craps about.
He's
Like I
got
really
five
don't.
months and he's still got multiple meetings.
Now, could there be something interesting like you have like a 5-4 split vote or some kind of nonsense on the? Yeah, that would be interesting, right?
Yeah.
But I think the market is going to make an attempt to break out. Do the bulls have the conviction behind it?
Can I ask you another question?
Yeah, I could talk about
Is
this
the
all
Fed
day.
getting ready to increase liquidity exponentially?
Yes,
And
100,000.
how in the world are you fighting me on the word hawkish?
What you don't
You're a
believe
political
me at
philosophy
all.
PhD. This is like basic stuff. They've been
What
manipulating.
in what? Oh,
Do you
I'm
agree
about to
then?
like what
Then you agree?
universe?
Orwell, Mark Hughes.
I
I mean,
deliver the message that
Chomsky.
Goldman Sachs and Bank of America, and I have not been arguing anything about a hawkish cut. What in the world are you talking about?
Because it's
Just
not a
seems
hawkish cut.
That
We
seems
is
should
like
how
some.
not,
big
we should
banks
not
frame
allow
it.
nonsensical
No,
political
you should.
messaging simply because Jay
Absolutely, you
Powell
should,
is
and you
sick
should
of
learn
getting
how to take
criticized.
advantage of it, right? That's why you don't care. I don't think you should trade around this Fed meeting, right? I think you should go full bore. You should give it a shot for the Bulls, and I think the Bulls win. Not sure if there's the conviction, but I think they'll make it an
Uh,
honest attempt here.
Mm,
So,
mm.
but you
Hawkish
got it. I mean,
Cub,
that's how they're
Hawkish
going to
Cub
frame
of
it.
full port
You
long.
are never going to
That's
convince
crazy
the
to
big
me.
banks not to use that language. They're always going to use that language
But why?
to
I
describe
I
don't
this
give
get
a
it.
particular
shit if they
scene.
use that language. I care that we embrace that language. I care
But
that
you have to
like
understand
society
what
does not
phrase.
allow
Oh, well,
that framing to occur, and that people that know better are speaking better about it because it's not hawkish. It's not hawkish in any
well, I
capacity.
know.
This is
Hence,
the most ridiculous debate And I'm not saying us, I'm saying what Jay Powell is trying to do and paint it both ways. What Wall Street is allowing Powell to do is to have his cake and eat it too. He's allowed to put out a cut message, which goes to say, "Hey, we're really concerned about labor. We're really fake concerned about AI, even though we don't understand it," while also saying, "But we're also equally concerned about inflation." Okay. So we're just going to sit on the data watching fence for 3 consecutive years. Like that's the end of Powell's legacy. Can't make a call because he's too chicken because of transitory. That's Powell's legacy, and that's Wall Street and their framing of the language allowing him to get away with it. It's nonsensical. They're dovish. They're increasing liquidity, but they don't want to say it because they have an inflationary fake battle to fight.
Yeah, pretty
They've
much.
they've they've won. They get people to talk about the wrong things. They're just cutting interest rates. All this language and subterfuge and all this stuff. They just get you off their actual actions. It works.
They're
Wall
legitimately
Street.
launching QE next
Yeah,
month. Like,
that's right.
Dude,
Okay.
no, dude,
Ridiculous.
they already did. They already had the largest injection into the repo facility since COVID just last week. The QE's already started. They'll call it something else, right?
All right. All right.
I don't know. All I'm going to suggest is if they cut on Wednesday, the dot plus suggests that there are going to be more cuts in 26 and they're ending QE and launching QE. We should call it dovish. That's all I'm suggesting.
Mm. It's a hawkish dove,
It's a hawkish dove, though. It's a
There you
hawkish
go.
dove.
All right. Anything else on the broad markets before we move into another segment here? I gotta stop
I
talking about the Fed. I'm over it.
Yeah, Fed 1A, a lot of important earnings in the AI space this week. Broadcom, Oracle, Adobe,
It's
all,
actually
all very
sneaky big
important.
on the
Like
earnings.
two tier two companies on the AI Gold Rush watch list that I just updated last Monday are reporting. The sixth highest company on the list is Broadcom, and they report this week. So it's an important week on earnings as well, not just the fundamental macro condition, but on the earnings landscape as well. So next 10 days, guys, like uh, expect a little bit of shifting volatility over the next 10 days as the market gets a lot of data points.
Yeah, yeah. Which where those straddles and strangles may come in, Mark, actually. So kind of a tie into the big spec there.
I'll
Let's
be
get
excited to teach
back.
the strangle
Because
next
did
week.
you hear the VIX is low right now? I don't know if that's been covered.
Maybe I should rethink that
Yeah,
girl because she might be onto something. Maybe she's
Yeah,
actually
maybe you're like you'd have made you rich, and
maybe
you're
she was looking at the VIX, Tim.
Yeah, she was looking at volatility.
Oh.
All right, next segment. Let's move on. Thank you for your thoughts on the markets, guys. Appreciate that all the time. Let's move on to stock it or drop it. And this is a segment that we go through on the podcast where we bring up companies and we look at them together. And then Mark and Matt just say, hey, whether they're going to stock it, which is buy it up and keep it, and is bullish, or drop it, which is to get rid of it and dump it. So let's start with Tesla. Recently, Morgan Stanley cut it from overweight to equal weight. They had concerns about some of their AI innovation upside and all that kind of stuff. The company did have a little bit of a gap down there today on the chart, backfilled it even further into the 9 EMA, but you've got some mixed technicals. Let's start with Matt. Stock it or drop it on Tesla.
Morgan Stanley's wrong. I mean, they're just absolutely wrong. And what they're wrong on is a specific point of the AI is already priced in here. That's outlandishly
yeah, it's just bad.
idiotic. That is just really bad analysis, quite frankly. Morgan Stanley, I don't know if you're better than that type of lazy nonsense, but Morgan Stanley, that is extremely lazy nonsense. Automation and robotics, the Optimus build out is not priced into Tesla. That is absolutely asinine because when they point to their earnings landscape, I know Tesla's earnings landscape extremely well. They aren't having any of that priced into it this year. They're justifying the lack of earnings because earnings has not been a good story for Tesla this year. If you'll recall, the first 6 months of this year was all political about Tesla, and the legacy car manufacturing business had tariff conversations, had issues with Elon working in the government. There were boycotts on that, And so I think we're mixing three or four different versions of analysis here, Morgan Stanley. But I don't want to debate that. All I want to say is anybody who says AI is properly priced in, you shouldn't listen to them. This is in the we're not we probably haven't even had the leadoff hitter yet in Tesla from an AI development and an infrastructure build out. I think that's absolutely ridiculous. XAI alone there is a powerhouse. And so no, I disagree with that one. This is a long-term story. I'm not going to debate the short-term technicals because I will be interested in an increase in support going against the 460 breakout. But I'm gonna stock Tesla and say Morgan Stanley's incorrect on this one. I thought it was a and they have a legitimate argument on the earnings. Absolutely 100%. They have an illegitimate argument on the AI conversation. That's justification just to do the downgrade.
Yeah, I think the whole phrase priced in is so stupid because I don't believe markets are efficient, but that's a conversation for another day. Michael Burry also came out against Tesla. I'm going to agree 100% with Matt over Michael Burry. I'm sorry. In the AI race, I think there's two aspects that you're betting on. One is AI transformative. Matt and I both agree it
Yes.
is. Two, who are the individuals, companies that are going to win in that transformative race? How do you not bet on Elon Musk? I
I'm
say talk to him.
sorry. Robotics alone, if robotics even sniffs some of the
Yeah.
projections out there, like
How do you
Morgan
not bet on
Stanley's going to look extremely foolish here.
this isn't an equal weighted fight for AI. It
Mhm.
is a best, brightest, innovative. I'll take the guy that NASA calls to save things in this
By the
race.
way, you could have made a valuation argument on Tesla at any point in the last
Yeah,
15.
that's sorry, Elon Musk until he is who called
When
him
you're
the Albert
telling
Einstein.
me AI's priced in and we're dealing with valuation, like Morgan Stanley, get the hell out.
Yeah, it's just
No,
bad analysis.
bad enough.
Stock it on Tesla.
Okay, very good. I do so want to talk about Elon Musk, but we're moving on. Netflix is next. This one's a little bit under pressure recently, and obviously, the chart shows that the gap down shows that the momentum is even increasing to the downside post earnings and whatnot. Stock it or drop it here, Mark. Let's start with you. Let's go
You,
snake style, back and
well,
forth.
I'm going to say stock it. Now, you don't stock it today because that's a falling knife potential, right? But, Netflix has a massive moat.
So you
And you
drop
are,
it.
So yeah,
well, it depends on what your
Like,
time frame
no,
is.
no, 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 no. You're today,
No,
stock it or drop it.
from this price, well, that's just dumb. No, I'm going to play stock
that's
it
the
or drop it.
game.
That's the game.
That's
You
the game.
created the game.
It's like,
I know I
I will
created the game,
swing
man.
it
You
Listen,
can do
listen,
any time
don't
when
frame.
it's
stock it
in the,
today, but put it on the radar for some point in the next couple of years. Like
You
that's not the
stock
game.
it the next pattern, right? I mean, it's going down
The next
today,
pattern
right?
could be a year
Well,
from now.
then you stock it then. It's a long-term winner. It is a long-term winner. I mean, you recognize the short-term momentum, right? The short-term momentum from just any technician
Yeah.
101 book says don't buy it. It's a long-term winner. Stock it.
I'm gonna play the game the right way.
Uh,
Drop this bad boy. Put it on the radar for a potential reversal down the road, but you have no clue what that timing is. This story between Netflix and the split recently was really, really well received. Most of the market loves the split conversation, but after the split conversation, we had to deal with the merger out of Warner Brothers. And over the last few trading sessions, they're looking to buy Warner Brothers for $72 billion. That over the weekend got thrown some cold water on it when Paramount came out and said, no, we have a bigger bid and we're going to try a hostile takeover. That got thrown another wrench when President Trump over the weekend suggested that he's going to have a big time say in this final conclusion of the Netflix, Paramount, and Warner Brothers situation. Right, it reminds me a little bit of Microsoft and Activision over a couple of years ago. And if you guys will recall, Activision was yeah tradable for the next couple of years, but it was not a good tradable asset class. So
Mhm.
I'm gonna say drop it. I don't get me wrong, I agree with Mark. In a reversal, I'm gonna have interest, no doubt about that. But does this merger and acquisition get done smoothly over the next 2 months, or are we still debating this in the FTC and the SEC 2 years from now? That's an open question. So no, it's a drop. But for me, I'm going to wait on proper reversal analysis and the proper conclusion to this story.
Okay. I personally, I think that the basis of the game needs to be defined now. It's like one of these, we got to look at the rule book. I'm a sports official. We have to go back into section 9,
It's either on
data
your
point
radar right now
3.
or it is not.
That's what I
It
thought
is
stock
on
and
my
It's
drop it
radar right
it's
was,
now
either on
because
your
but
radar or it
you
is
are
not.
at the 20 monthly, which could be the
Listen, that's
reversal
fine.
zone
If it's
right
on your
now.
radar, that's great. I'm
So
not
I
trying to
got five
argue
stocks on
that.
my radar I don't have action on. This is one of them.
okay, Broadcom next, got an earnings setup, strong event trade candidate. Stock it or drop it. I'm dropping it going into earnings unless it's a very specific, earnings trade that you're talking about, Mark. But I'm gonna drop. Mark, actually, we'll go Matt, snake style, bringing you back. Let's go Matt first.
Earnings from a tradable situation is obviously null and void as there's hardened rules around trading earnings. But if Broadcom's on your watch list, like you're not dropping this from your watch list. It's the sixth highest AI gold rush company. It's the first company on tier two, and let's face it, you're not getting onto tier one. So I no, I'm stocking this one. This
Might
this
just
long-term story.
challenge them to just Broadcom got to hold my bear moment. Broadcom, what can you deliver on earnings?
Yeah.
Last earnings was pretty fantastic, wasn't it, Matt? You're my earnings guy.
Last earnings analysis was knockout. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like knockout, right? And so, I think it's an obvious stock, and it was a fantastic cash flow stock since the last earnings. Gapped and then just produced insane cash flow levels. It's hard to bet against this company. There's a reason Matt said it was a knockout on earnings. There's a reason Matt put it number 6 on the AI watch list, right? You watch this stock, and if opportunities develop, you take advantage of them.
Mhm.
Stock it.
All right, very good. Let's move on to SPY versus RSP on a concentration play. I guess you're gonna have to stock one on this game. We're gonna have a little variable here. So Matt, you got to play one. You got to stock one
You might
up.
as well
SPY or
tell me
the
what
RSP.
sector you like the most if you're doing the ES versus RSP, but I'll take the ES.
Okay, Mark.
It is tough for me because I've been ES over RSP, and so in the short term, I think you have some outperformance in everything else. I'll
Mhm.
bet on I'll bet on the cyclicals. I'll bet on the market seeing through the crap of the Fed this week. I'll bet on the breakout going, and I think there's some real explosive. Now, SPY does just fine in that, right? In that scenario, but I think RPSP does better. So in a strength scenario, I'll take the RSP over the next couple of weeks when Santa comes to town.
All right, then I'm actually gonna make up new rules for this game right now. We're gonna play this one as Would You Rather because it's not stock it or drop it. We've got to define rules around here. NVIDIA or Google. It is the rules matter, guys. I'm just saying. NVIDIA or Google. Let's start with you, Marky. You got to pick one. Would you rather grab NVIDIA and run with it or grab Google, the AI leader showdown?
Interesting news. And Matt, what was the news that was breaking this afternoon when the market was closing on NVIDIA?
The president announced literally, it felt like seconds, but it was probably minutes before the market closed here today. And you can kind of, if you go look at your price action, you can kind of see that candle, like literally 1 minute before the close, all of a sudden, I'll just tell you a quick story. Me and a bunch of day traders are sitting there having a conversation going
Oh,
in.
you were in a
Well,
live day trading room?
uh-huh.
Oh, I
Yeah,
didn't
we
know
were, we
that.
were, we were, it was about me and about 18 other day traders. And we're in a live setting. We're talking about day trading. Most of us are looking at the buy side because the market really hadn't done much in the last couple hours.
Oh, it was a total snooze fest today.
And we were starting to see a reversal. And I said, okay, if we can get above, basically, I said, if we can get above 68.50, it's going to be quick to 68.60. And literally 5 minutes later, it breaks on that 1 minute chart. It goes to 50, it goes to 68.60. And I'm like, that was too fast because it was really fast. And that's when the president actually announced live in the White House in the Oval that NVIDIA now has the ability to sell the H20 chip to China, which the last few quarters NVIDIA hasn't had the ability to do that. And this represents like 5 billion in revenue
Yeah, it's no
to
small number,
Nvidia
even for someone
quarterly.
like, yeah.
It's not a small number. It's big time number. Guess what the US government's getting, guys?
How much?
They're getting a kicker.
How much the mafia shaking him down
The
for?
mafia is shaking 25% of all revenue coming
Oh,
from the
Hmm.
sale of the 820 chip to China. Um, we're not
wow.
in our founding fathers' economic system these days, ladies and gentlemen. But
I gotta go read my Adam Smith and what chapter,
that's not in
governments.
Adam Smith's chapter. I think that one's in Karl Marx's.
Yeah.
But I did find it fascinating that Nvidia got that catalyst. And so don't get me wrong, even before that catalyst, I would have answered Nvidia. They're the number one on the AI gold rush for a reason. They're the king, queen, and country of the AI build out. And if you believe in the AI build out, and you've been a part of that with Nvidia on anything, they haven't done enough to get me off that. And so I have a healthy respect for Google, who's the number three company on the AI gold rush, only behind Nvidia and Taiwan Semiconductor, mind you. And the only reason Taiwan's there in front of Google is Taiwan gets literally a piece of every single penny spent in hyperscaler build out. Taiwan gets a portion of. And so it goes Nvidia, Taiwan, Google, and I think that's how I would list them if you were to ask me today. And so no, I'll still go Nvidia over Google, but if anybody said Google over Nvidia, the TPU situation out of Google and the eating up market share coming out of Nvidia, that's a real story, and
It's a real story. It is a
that's an
fact.
important story.
Because this whole NVIDIA versus Google, would you rather, like, if you went and spent 1 hour just researching it, why it's an actual debate, you'll actually learn more about actual
TPUs
semiconductors.
versus GPUs, baby.
Yeah, you'll actually learn a lot of technical jargon and understand, the whole, because
Well, and
it's a real thing. But I'll
I
go
also think
NVIDIA.
you get a little quantum with Google, and you get a little of the
Yeah,
entire tech build out with Google. NVIDIA is more of a specialist. Google's kind of, I would say Google is probably the
listen,
number one horizontal player
you
in
bet
AI.
if you only have two choices, which you never do, but this is the game. You bet on the heart of the ecosystem, which is NVIDIA,
The heart is
right?
still NVIDIA.
And and could that change? Sure,
Yes.
right? I don't have like the magical answers of
Where we're
what
at a year from now
technology,
on that TPU conversation, that could be vastly different.
but it's
But
the heart today. So I'll say NVIDIA, stock at NVIDIA.
if you're looking for the number one vertical, that's NVIDIA. If you're looking for the number one horizontal, I think that's Google. But both of them are.
I'll be looking to sell a put on NVIDIA tomorrow after that news. I know that's what I'll be looking for. So,
You better do it early.
I
oh,
love this
I
one.
plan on it.
Yeah.
Love that conversation, boys. Both those stocks are fascinating to me, and I think on a lot of people's radar. So thank you for your input there. All right, guys, we are going to move into our final segment here, and that's our Coach's Corner. If you ever have questions you want to get highlighted on the podcast for us to consider, we look through them and we take the ones that we think are going to be the most beneficial for our community. You can shoot them over to Mark, team at tackletrading.com, and then he'll curate the ones that he thinks are great for the podcast. I got a day trading question, a Fed question, and a general market question. I am going to make Mark answer the Fed question. And Mark, how many
That
dissents would
means
you
Tim's
need?
concerned about time.
No, okay.
We all know.
Don't take things personally.
You didn't hide anything on that one.
No, that one was pretty
No,
straightforward.
no, I'll tell you the honest,
Mark
my
on
honest
this
thing.
one.
Mark threw this in here thinking we would naturally throw it to Matt, but I actually want to
I
hear
did.
Mark's thought on this. And because let's hear it, Mark. How many dissents would you need to see before calling the committee a truly split committee?
Well, this is the interesting thing because Matt and I were saying the same things, if vastly different ways of approaching the subject earlier, right?
I will refuse to say hawkish cut.
Yeah, we're that, but we're basically saying the same thing. Like neither one of us see this Fed as an impediment to market price action potentially, right? If you had multiple dissents, and this is the one scenario because we're so used to over the decades no dissents, right? And then a couple months ago we had one dissent, and now they're becoming a little, and then we have a little commonplace that we get, all of that. if you have, because one thing that Matt speaks such truth on is markets love to know the path of policy. That's just whatever it is, right? If they know the path of policy, it reduces volatility. Doesn't mean you go up all the time, but it does reduce volatility. The one scenario I could see that would increase volatility post Fed is if you have somebody dissent on one side and maybe three people dissent on another, and here's the decision, and it is communicates to the market that it's all over the place. Now, do I think that would cause immediate volatility? No. Do I think that could weigh in the weeks to come? I do. So I don't know what the exact ratio is, but it would probably have to be pretty dramatic, something like a truly split Fed, and that split being on both sides of the equation.
Most of the disagreements recently has been on the cut side, correct? Most of the people that were dissenters wanted to cut, correct?
Most of the dissenters wanted to cut, but there was one last time that did not.
Yeah. So the proper question is how many dissents would it take before we started evaluating as a split Fed? 3.
We
Three.
might get
I like
three.
it.
We might
Mark it
get three.
down.
We might get three on Wednesday.
Yeah, no.
So
Yeah.
But
All right.
I
I like
definitely
that.
think you would consider that a split Fed, though.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Next one's a day trading question. I'm going to throw this one to Matt. In a news heavy week, what's your favorite intraday trigger? An opening range breakout or the midday reversal?
No, I'm always a midday reversal over an opening range breakout, but that's only because I prefer trading later in the session than earlier in the session. The orb breakout strategy is a tried and true methodology. There's no doubt about that. Um, but the orb strategy this week is also in front of a lot of data. So if you're trading post Fed, it would be the reversal scenario. And so I like them both. I think the orb is a really, really, really good technique. I think intraday reversals at certain levels are really, really good techniques. But as a day trader, I'm a sucker for a reversal. I love a reversal coming from a low point. I'll just give you a quick example here today. It's not surprising to me today that we started reversing at 35 on the ES.
Hmm.
That was where exactly where we pivoted last time we hit this number. And so once you got into that number, and it wasn't just like a wick that spent a day down there. This was a volatility event that got gobbled right back up. There is an algorithm program there. And so it wasn't surprising to see the double tap there. And once we got the double tap, and put it on the radar for a reversal. And so I am a sucker for a intraday reversal. I love intraday reversals, and I would always rather take an intraday reversal over the momentum of the orb strategy. So
Hmm.
the orb strategy is more of a momentum, quick getting involved once it breaks out of the range. The reversal's more of a true pattern development. And you know me, Tim, I love trading patterns. And so I don't consider the orb a pattern. I consider the orb a breakout strategy. A pattern would be a W, would be a double tap at support, would be a double top. So give me the reversal coming from a known level. I'll always love that more than anything else.
I love orbs though. I mean, there's so many ways to play them, especially even like
Hmm.
if you know how to day trade options, sell off volatility, you get those volatility patterns in intraday that are pretty attractive,
Hmm.
actually. It's very aggressive stuff, more advanced stuff. You need coaching before you ever even
Yeah, the
attempt
orb
that
is a
type of
little bit
thing.
more
But
aggressive, but it's a really good technique too. Like there's
yeah.
nothing wrong with it.
100%. Last one, Marky, for you, general market question. Breadth is improving. I got to tell you guys, I've
So is
had
your
some
breath
trauma
though.
from Siri. My breath is not improving. I've been drinking coffee all day. I can promise you, I've got bad, late
Yeah,
afternoon
coffee
coffee
breath.
breath.
Yeah.
Yes. And Siri voice to text has reminded me that my enunciation is not very great. I will
Well,
tell you
you're
that.
Justice from Utah.
Yeah. What's easy way a trader can confirm whether this improvement is sticky mark or just a short rotation?
Oh, that's a good question. like I think on the sector level, because when breadth improves, that doesn't mean it improves in all places at the same time equally, right? Like, when you hear like a market commentator out there saying, hey, market breadth is better or market breadth is worse. Well, they were saying market breadth was worse, but healthcare was, killing it, right?
Mhm.
So like when you have like improving breadth, that means it's not just tech, right? And so I think you go to technical confirmation on individual sector levels. Like, for example, finance, industrials, XLI, XLF, they have clear breakout levels, right? RSP has a clear breakout level, right? And so if you want some kind of, is this just a moment? Is this just a day? Or is this actual rotation? You're going to see, or just actual improving breadth, because it doesn't mean it's rotation if other things participate for the first time in four
Yeah, it's hard to
months.
call it rotation if everything's
Yeah,
recovering off the
yeah,
low.
exactly.
Yeah.
And so like if you have like, but if you see clear levels of resistance being broken in finance, in industrials, right, that is a sign from a technical perspective. If you need something to quantify it, bad breadth is improving. So that's how but I'm curious to get your take on that, Matt.
If you close above 192 and a half, breadth is going to get the breadth is going to get even better and better and better in the market. I find I find this to be a stock picker's market first and
It's
foremost.
a fantastic
Yeah,
stock
it's a
pickers
pretty good one
market.
too. But I will say it's been important to you don't get into a stock picker's market unless you get the RSP to get a little bit equal to what is happening on the SPY. And this is really kind of the first time in a while we're dancing the same pattern on the ES versus the RSP. Both of them in breakouts, both of them multiple time frame, both of them need a catalyst, and both of them are waiting on that catalyst. So I think it's pretty easy. You get above 192 and a half, you close there. It's not just recovery, you're seeing a leg. And I think that's easier to identify on RSP than it is on the ES itself.
Now, I have a bonus coach's corner question because 4 or 5 people asked the same question, and we recently addressed it, but I'll throw it out there. And the question was, does Santa come to town this year?
If we close above 192 and a half, Santa's
That was,
getting on the sleigh and he's getting going.
I had like 5 people ask a similar
It's the
Santa
number one
or
question we get asked the last couple of weeks.
is Santa coming to
Um,
town?
listen,
You
if
know,
Santa,
Yes,
if
here's the
yes,
answer.
he is.
If he does, you will be able to see him launch. That's the reality about being close to a breakout
All
level.
right, I got one last question
Yes.
before we
He ain't
close up shop.
launching unless we break out.
Have you seen John Travolta do that Grease Lightning Santa commercial for whatever card he's hacking for these days?
No,
no,
Oh, then you can't answer.
no.
yeah, but we could say best John Travolta movie. It's got to be Pulp Fiction,
Face off.
right? Mm,
Oh, those are good ones. I gotta go Saturday Night Fever. I'm sorry. Like
all right, all
I think
right,
that's where John was his finest. It's not my favorite John
yeah.
Travolta movie.
90s John.
90s John was the
My
best.
favorite John Travolta movie is Grease. My second favorite is Pulp Fiction. So
There you go.
Mhm.
There you go. All right, guys, that is going to wrap it for today's episode. Love the conversation, the back and forth, all of those kind of things. It's always fun getting together with you guys talking about markets. We've got events tonight. We've got things we got to get out there and get promoted, Matt. The Tackle Trading Live events page is always available for anybody who wants to go and see what we're doing over at Tackle Trading. We got our day trading mastery course. By the time you listen to the podcast, go and sign up for the next one. It's going to be the 15th, that advanced systems for the master trader, which is our flagship program that we put on for new traders out there. And then we've got income systems with the Tackle 25, the coaching panel that's coming up later in the month. Pretty much every week we've got something going on. Matt, anything you want to talk about with those
No,
events?
that's what we do during our education season at Tackle Trading, which is every December for the holiday season. We like to do a tremendous amount of webinars. We like to put all of our educational products on discount. So if you're looking for coaching, you're looking for systems, you're looking for trading labs, you're looking for working one-on-one with a coach, obviously, or just want to become a member of Tackle Trading, there is no better time to move forward with Tackle Trading than the December holiday season. Significant discounts on pro membership, on season, on systems, on coaching, you name it. You can get there at the storefront. You can hit that link in the description below. But for most part, I hope everybody has a wonderful, wonderful week. If you're joining me in day trading later on tonight, fantastic. If you're joining with me in the Master Trader next week, fantastic. But most importantly, have a wonderful, wonderful week. And if you need anything from us at Tackle Trading, hit us up at team@tackletrading.com, or you can hit us up any single day in our Tackle Trading Discord as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to talk about Santa Claus, but we're just going to wrap. Have a good one, guys. We'll see you next time.
Have a great week, everyone.